Hello and welcome back to Northern Lights. So it's been a while, more so for the public viewers than the channel members, because you guys at least got to see the little extra content that they added to the previous update, which I will make public now. I'll either stick it to this, or I'll just have it as a separate video, then, you see this one. So, yeah. Anyways, so in the previous version that you probably saw if you're watching my videos, we were following Otter, whose name already escapes me because it's been a while. And he lived in New Orleans, had two friends, a gator and a fox, and that was the last day that he was living in New Orleans because he was basically getting kicked out because he didn't want to do what his father wanted him to do. So he decided, you know what? I'm gonna, move out and try to make it on my own. So he moved over to, I believe it's called Aspen Hollow, which is this mountain town, which has a university, I think. And he managed to land a job at a video rental place. This is like the early 90s, I think. Early 90s, late 80s. I forget. And while there, he ended up meeting his childhood friend from camp, from the one time that he went to camp, Aldric, who is a sable German Shepherd. The one that I'm hovering right here. Actually, let's see. Do they have the picture here? Sprite? Here we go. Aldric. We ended up meeting Aldric, and you could already see the two new people that are going to be introduced. This dork, I'm going to call him a dork because he kind of looks a little dorky, who was very happy to see the otter. The name still escapes me. And they reconnected, and they just clicked right back again as if nothing had happened. Which is a little weird because they did keep in contact after the camp, but then all of a sudden it stopped, which I think is something that's going to be brought up in this update by a certain someone over here. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure we're about to find out what happened with that. Bleep. So yeah, we're gonna find that out. Anyways, but in the previous little small thing, which, I mean, if you already saw it, because yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna keep it separate. So if you already saw it, then, good. If not, then oh well. But I'm gonna spoil it for you, so you better have seen that before, because I'm gonna make that public. So in the previous thing, we saw the otter go to the public library to figure out if what he was dreaming was real, and then he also had a little sketch of the coin, and as it turns out, it was real, and he started having a panic attack for some strange reason, which I'm forgetting probably. And he ended up bumping into somebody that appeared to be like a big wig or something, or somebody important, because they certainly acted like they were important. So yeah, so there's something, I want to say, spooky going on in the town, which, I mean, if you've read Echo, then, if this is giving you Echo vibes, it is giving me Echo vibes. So yeah, if there is something spooky, then it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, continue. Anyway, so I guess without further ado, let us continue Northern Lights and see what happens. Okay, just a little thing, because it wasn't in the previous update. This is the person that he runs into, so you can see their sprite. Anyway, so moving on. As the bus rolled down the main street, running along the quaint campus, a sense of trepidation kept swelling within me. I couldn't help eyeing the league of cars, parents and students unpacking, saying their farewells. It wasn't the frantic energy that left me uneased. The sight of all the love being so freely spread left me feeling hollow. I wonder what it's like having family actually here to see you off. The new job, reconnecting with Aldric, it was a nice start to a new life, yet I could feel that everlasting itch in my head, the one that never failed to return me to the greatest constant of my life, wondering if my pa was right. As I stepped off the bus, my eyes got fixed on a blue station wagon, quite like the one my father owned, ears twitching as I imagined myself stepping out of the car. My ma already in tears before we'd even reached the campus, a look of pride on my pa's face that let me know that this was my own achievement, that I had made it. I almost smiled at the thought of having a Rockwellian family, with a father who supports my dreams and a mother alongside a caring husband. When the bus rolled away with a squeak of H brakes, I was shaken out of my fantasy. Thus far, with every step that I took in my new life, it still felt like I was tugging a ball and chain, a longing for my past to be different, which kept me from focusing too long on all the good that had happened so far. With a heavy sigh and even heavier steps, I started making my way through the campus, following signs for the registration area, trying to fight against that feeling and hold onto my blessings. The campus wasn't particularly large, a 3-story dormitory, 2 smaller study halls with everything else contained in the largest central building, looking straight out of the turn of the century. Though small, it looked like it would fit right in with the Ivy Leagues. There was a clear lack of upkeep, and it was even clearer that its distance from any place of note limited its appeal to the upper class. During my short walk through the quad, I spotted more students than I would have expected given the size of the university. Most of them looked like they were in a similar situation to me. Hand-me-down clothes, beater cars, a general lack of personal belongings for their future dorm rooms. No scholarships, relying on loans and parents' money. This was truly the best that they could afford. The registration area had taken over the cafeteria, now swarmed with droves of new students, parents, faculty, and returnees volunteering their time to help everyone find where they needed to go. A banner on the wall towards one end marked designated tables for arts and business degrees. I worked my way through the crowd as fast as I could towards them. Excuse me? Um, is this the back of the line? Against the overwhelming noise in the space, I had to speak up a little to get the attention of a tall Doberman in a tight-fitting jacket in front of me. He turned to face me with a sneer on his face. I'm not a volunteer. Fuck off. His tone was harsh, and before I even had a chance to say anything else, he turned his back to me, pretending I didn't exist. After 20 minutes, I was finally at the table, and the lady helping me find my information and schedule was far kinder than that Doberman who just left. Here we go. Associates of Arts. Planning to transfer? Yes, ma'am. Gonna see about getting into a film school once I'm done here. You wanna make movies? How exciting! Please call me Rebecca. She seemed genuinely passionate about my career choice. If it hadn't been for the line of waiting students behind me, she might have happily dove into a deep conversation with me. So all of your general studies classes will be in the building, while your art program will take place in the right hall. If you head out that way, you'll find signs leading you to the bookstore, so you can get everything that you need for the semester. Thank you, Miss Rebecca, for helping make sense of everything around here. My pleasure, Cody. I hope you have a wonderful first year here at Aspen Hollow University. With my schedule and book list in paw, I head out the cafeteria and start making for the bookstore. Outside, there were rows of tables, staffed with returning students, advertising assorted clubs, encouraging freshmen to take a look and come join. Among all the large signs and the several pamphlets offered up to me, there was no evidence of one for films, not even photography. Maybe I should start a film club here? Never really was good at that sort of thing, though. Man, reckon Tobin would have smacked me upside the head for saying that. I forced myself to chuckle as I fought to ignore the rapidly growing sensation of loneliness. No dysfunctional family to bring me here, not even my best friends alongside me as we ready ourselves for college life. Soon after dipping into the bookstore, I realized that getting my books was the easy part, The list even told me where to find them amongst the rows of shelves. It was the art supplies that would take up most of my time. Until I got my first paycheck in a week, this would be the last of the money that I saved up. I would need to choose wisely. Glancing at my semester schedule, I note that none of my classes were about painting, a small mercy as paints were always the most expensive. I gathered up a selection of charcoals, pastels, and pencils, a large sketch pad, and a few more bits and bobs. I wouldn't be able to afford one yet, but I at least had to take a look and see what easels they had on offer. Turning a corner, I stopped dead in my tracks at the sight of an all too familiar elk. Is it just me, or do the art supplies here keep shrinking every year? The Servine was conversing with an elderly ram, whose wool was covered throughout in splotches of assorted paints. What do you think would have happened once they opened the mall over in Cedar Valley? Administration has always been complaining about the low profit on art supplies. Are you joking? Paws and Paint Emporium? Nothing but overpriced, substandard supplies. The only art they specialize is in conning. I dread to see what mediocrity my students will present with those sorry excuses for paints and brushes. At the mention of students, my eyes widened. He was an art professor. I could only hope that he would never be one of mine, or at least not for the first semester. The last thing that I wanted was to be on a professor's bad side from the get-go. Maybe he'd forget about me crashing into him, and then maybe I could dismiss the hatred in his voice when he referred to my species. Hurriedly, I stepped back, deciding that I'd rather not run into the elk again. Instead, I made for the counter to pay for everything. Leaving with my books and supplies in hand, I took a quick look at the campus map and decided to make for the student parking lot. I figured that would be the best way to find Aldric, as we had planned, would be to look for his truck. I managed to spot it not too far from the quad, along with a rather rough-looking Doberman in a red jacket leaned up against it, instantly recognizing him as a rather rude canine who'd kindly told me to fuck off. Walking over, I gave a nervous wave to the Doberman, assuming him to be one of Aldric's friends. Maybe we'd gotten off on the wrong paw before. The Doberman glared at me, causing my heart to sink for the third time that day. Was I only ever gonna meet one nice person on this campus? What? The Doberman's voice was just as aggressive as before. Surely the canine would just about bite my head clean off if I stepped too close. I was looking for Aldric. Have you seen him? And why should I tell you? I don't recall him looking around for some random freshman. The Doberman stood tall, looking like he was ready to pick a fight with me, and I took a nervous step back from him. Sorry, I'll look somewhere else. That's a good idea. Get lost. Just as I turned to leave, I heard Aldric call out. Hey, Cody! Aldric hurried over, giving me a pat on the shoulder before setting his stuff down in the bed of the truck. Howdy, Aldric. Took you long enough. Let's go. The shepherd bumped up hard against the Doberman, causing him to stagger a few steps sideways. Immediately, the anger on his face disappeared. He looked rather like a nervous puppy now. Ow! What was that for? Because you can drop the act, Dev. Cody's a friend that I was telling you about last night. Oh. Hey, sorry, Cody. I'm Devon. It's nice to finally meet the legend. The Doberman's entire posture shifted the moment he steadied his step. His shoulders relaxed, and he suddenly seemed overflowing with friendly energy, an actual inviting smile plastered on his face. The legend? Devon wasn't given a chance to answer. Aldrich smiled at me, grabbing my things and setting them alongside us in the truck. Don't mind Dev. He built on a tough guy act for strangers. What? It's not an act. The surprising crack in his voice was another stark contrast to the angry hellhound he'd been before, now resembling an innocent pup. Right, sure it isn't. So, how'd it go, Cody? Got everything squared away for the semester? Yeah, everything went real smooth. What about ya? I didn't feel like bringing up the encounter with the elk, wishing to make a good first impression in front of Devon and to avoid dumping all my problems on Aldrich again. Not too bad. I got distracted catching up with some old high school rivals who are starting here. Hey, Cody. Aldric asked me to make lunch for the three of us. You hungry? Reckon I could eat. That's the spirit. Devon fumbled around inside the truck and pulled out 3 rectangular woven bamboo baskets. So, you're his pen pal, right? Yeah, totally forgot this is where I was sending all the letters to. Why did you stop? What do you mean? Aldric's ears perked at the question, lowering his lunchbox for a moment. Yeah, I was meaning to ask you about that. I stopped because you stopped. The shepherd flicked an ear, looking away from me as he pulled open one of the lunchboxes, hurriedly stuffing his maw with a slice of pickled radish. Devon huffed, looking a little perturbed with me. Maybe the tough guy bit wasn't completely an act. Aldrich didn't stop, though. What? Devon's comments made my eyes go wide, nearly dropping the lunch. Out of shock, whiskers drooping, I glanced over at Aldrich. You didn't stop writing me? The shepherd's perky ears had gone flat. His eyes looked sunken. I never thought much about the letters stopping, but Aldrich was clearly of a different mind about it. It's true. I actually mailed you a letter right after graduation. My gut twisted into a knot, realizing why the letters had stopped, feeling weak in the knees, wanting to just drop to the ground from shame and anger. I was sure that they could see it on my face, a look of utter defeat. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Did you move or something? No. Must have been my pa. Once high school started, he made me sign up for as many extracurriculars as possible and started asserting more control over everything I tried to do. Figured that he would see them and... I never even thought my pa would go so far as to decide what sort of mail I was allowed to have. Seems like I really did keep giving the man more credit than he deserved. The thought of him going through my mail every day, smiling as he ripped Aldrich's letters to me to shreds, made the fur on the back of my neck stand on end with anger. My paw kept sinking even lower as a person worthy of love. Turns out Tobin calling him a cockroach that faded morning was disrespectful to cockroaches. But then, why did I stop writing letters back to him? Why hadn't I kept going like he had? I felt a pit in my stomach, feeling like I made for a shit friend having given up so easily. I'm sorry. I only stopped because I thought that you forgot about me. How many letters had Aldrich written to me since I stopped? How many of his life had I missed out on? I wondered if he'd ever confided secrets in me, asked for comfort, but I wasn't there for him, giving up hope so easily. I felt like a monster straight out of a movie. Your dad sounds like a proper prick. My parents would probably love him. Hey, Cody, it's okay. You think that I wouldn't keep writing your letters if I felt bad about your stopping? Aldrich placed a paw on the square of my back, fingers flexing softly as he stroked gentle circles over the area. I could feel his claws tracing across the thin fabric of my shirt. It was an immediate calming sensation that washed over me, and I felt like I could just melt into the gentle scritches. Honest? Completely. He moved his paw away, after which the three of us went about unpacking the lunch Devon prepared. It was an exquisite array of fresh rice, fruit, pickled vegetables, a pair of wooden sticks nestled on top. Never had a lunch like this before. What is it? Bento box. Learned about them when I went to Japan with my rents, a couple of years ago. Picking up the sticks, I poked at the bits of food, not quite sure how I was supposed to eat with them. Can't, quite figure these sticks out, though. Never used chopsticks before? Can't say that I have. Am I just supposed to, stab the food? No, don't stab the food, man. That ain't what chopsticks are about. Devon stepped closer to me, holding out his paw to show me how he had nestled one of the sticks in between 2 fingers, the other pinched, but moving freely. That one stays put right there. You use the other one like a pincer. Fiddling with the chopsticks, I found it difficult to get them nestled properly with the webbing between my fingers. My brow furrowed as I concentrated on trying to get it right. The Doberman, chuckling a little, helped me find a way to hold the chopsticks with the patience of a saint, and with a small amount of luck, I managed to pick up a chunk of melon. Bento boxes are like our packed lunches, only cranked to 11. Don't discredit yourself, Dev. It's not the box that makes it so good. It's not my best work. Aldric huffed as the Doberman insulted his own skills once again, swallowing down a piece of fruit. Nah, he's right. This is like nothing that I've ever had before, and I love it. The more we talked, the more I wondered how Devon was even capable of acting so tough to strangers, downplaying his obvious talent in a way that would have made Tobin smack him upside the head. Devon seemed like he wasn't that far from a kindred spirit, as we shared a general disdain for ourselves and our home lives. I wondered how long it had been before Tobin kicked both our asses for talking shit. So, what are you going to school for, Devon? Business management. Get that out of the way before trying to go kitchen hopping around the world. Why do you gotta go around the globe? Not really sure what cuisine that I want my restaurant to serve, so I wanna work at a bunch of authentic places. Most of what we got here is all Americanized, just not the same. Glad that I'll have someone new to try my recipes out on, though. Misty and Aldric just say the same compliments. The shepherd coughed, choking back a piece of radish, glancing over at the Dobie. What? Your cooking is great. If this is anything to go by, I have to agree. Devon sighed heavily, setting down the empty bento box, looking off to the campus. You're from New Orleans. I'm sure you know that there's more to food than just it's delicious. The right mix of ingredients, the spice blend, the attention to detail. Food can fuel someone to move mountains, wax poetic, lift spirits. With every word spoken of his passion, the Doberman stood a bit taller, a smile on his face as he looked ready to serve his cooking to a crowd of hundreds. It was always about the community for me, just like the movies. The joy of everyone at a boil or a block party just adds something more to food. Though Chef Garth's cooking was always my favorite, it was hard denying how the overwhelming showing of kindness, love, and support at the farewell boil added to the experience. Garth, a close friend of mine and the best chef in Nolans, held a going away boil for me. All these people showed up, more folks than I realized even remembered my name. As delicious as the food was, it wouldn't have been the same without the community there. Everyone brought together for the boil was like the final brushstroke on the canvas that tied the whole piece together, cementing and enhancing the meaning of the scene. The promise of a good meal brings folks to the table, but it's the conversation that we share around the meal that makes the moment last. The way Devon smiled the whole time I spoke, like he was hanging on every word, warmed my heart. I'd been worried about fitting in with Aldric's friends, but I could see now that I had no reason to fear. I'm not a chef, but I think most can agree. If you ask someone what their favorite food is, reckon that there'll be some powerful memories attached to it. The Doberman looked ready to jump for joy over our shared passion. The love he clearly wanted to give people through his cooking left me even more confused as to why he'd been so rude before. See, Aldric, he gets it. I'm not disagreeing with him, Dev. I'm just not a poet when it comes to describing food. Cody's an artist, probably be far better with words for your food than I could ever be. I promise to give my honest critique. How about that? Perfect. With our meals tucked away, I sighed happily, admitting to myself that it was nice experiencing a summer day that never got above 80. Having Aldric around was already a blessing in my new life, but now with Devon and I hopefully starting a journey towards friendship, the spark of hope in my heart was growing. Meanwhile, I was starting to feel like the ball and chain that had been weighing me down for over a week now might actually slip off my leg in time. Another firm step forward to let go of regret and move on with my life. Little by little, I was feeling more settled in Aspen Hollow. It was a town that I looked forward to spending every day in, dragging Aldric and Devon out to adventure, chatting over good food and learning secrets about the town and each other. Hey Dev, mind if we stop by your house real quick? Devon's entire posture and expression flipped faster than a light switch, tense in the shoulders and a concerned look in his eyes. He was clearly caught off guard by the question. What? Why? Taking Cody to the park today. Just wanted to grab some of my gear. I really wish that you keep that stuff at Misty's place. But alright. Why don't you keep it in your folks' house, Aldric? Don't live there anymore. I've got a camper trailer over at 2 Mile Campground. My body stiffened, ears perked up at the thought of Aldric living alone, my mind briefly entertaining an image of the trailer rocking, though with a quick huff I nudged it away. It's a hunk of junk. Hey, don't talk about the old girl like that. I fixed her up nice. I didn't realize weld lines like yours meant something is fixed. Don't listen to Dev, Cody. He's just trying to come up with more reasons not to go to the campground. The Doberman had a nervous look on his face, fidgeting with the chopsticks still in his paw as he hoped Aldric wouldn't expand on the subject. What's wrong with the campsite? Devon says that the place is haunted. It is. Devon's voice cracked once more as he tried to defend his beliefs. With a look of genuine fear on his face, he looked ready to run if someone said so much as a boo. Care to explain, Dev? I can't. It's just a feeling. So, you haven't actually seen something? No, not exactly. But every time that we go there, my fur fluffs up. It's just in your head. You heard a strange noise one time and ended up making some unjustified fear. There's no such thing as ghosts or bumps in the night. The Doberman huffed a little as his frustrations were being dismissed, one of his ears twitching. Considering how hostile he tried to appear to strangers, I never would have taken him for someone to get that easily spooked. Well, come on, let's get moving. If we're stopping by my place first, we don't have time to spare, or I'll end up late for my shift. We loaded into the truck, and I found myself sandwiched between the Doberman and the shepherd. My heart skipped a beat, feeling just like I did back home, squished between Liam and Tobin as we headed off for another adventure. Dev, put one of Misty's tapes in. I want Cody to hear how good her band is. Oh yeah, Cody, have you met Misty yet? The Doberman grabbed the box from under the bench seat and thumbed through it to find the right tape, soon sliding it into the radio and turning up the volume a bit. No, with how much Aldric talks about you both, I'm looking forward to it though. Aldric's head bobbed a little with the beat of the tune, his large ears bouncing in a rather adorable fashion. Aldric drove across the length of the town before turning off the main throw road, heading down a long private drive. Aldric stopped the truck in front of a large wrought iron gate. Thick tree lines butted right up against both sides of the driveway. Devon hopped out of the truck, fishing a key from his pocket and inserting it into a control box mounted off to the side of the gate. Aldric pulled through as the gate swung open and Devon walked right in before it closed, soon hopping back into his seat. Where are we going? Devon looked away from me. Staring out the window, Aldric had an uneasy look on his face. Something about where we were heading made him uncomfortable. Dev's place. It's my fault. Should have just gotten my stuff this morning. What do you mean it's your fault? As we turned a bend in the road, the house came into view at last. Though it was only 2-story home, it was wide and deep, with shawlwork walls and multiple patio-sized balconies extending off the home. Aldric parked next to the detached 5-car garage off to the side of the home. Is it okay if I tell him, Devon? Whatever. The Doberman huffed as he left the truck, making for the front door without even waiting for us. Devon doesn't like being known for his parents' money. If he wasn't getting bullied over it, people kept trying to be his friends just so that they could get free stuff. Heck, that's awful. Not sure he appreciates you finding out so fast. Just don't make a big deal about it, okay? Yeah, you got it, Aldric. Aldric went and lifted one of the garage doors open, while I tried my best to take in details of the house without letting myself look impressed nor in awe. Which was a difficult task, as all I could think of were the incredible movies that I could film here. Just about every vantage point I spotted would be great for the penultimate scene of a film. Why don't you head inside? I'll be a couple of minutes. We're just going to the park for the day, right? Yeah, but I'm not sure where I want to take you first, so best to be prepared for both options. You want some help? That would spoil the surprise. Go on, get out of the heat for a bit. With a reluctant nod, I padded up to the front, standing still in front of a large oak paneled door, wondering whether I should knock first. It took all my willpower not to obey southern manners and knock. I reckoned that it would make Devon uncomfortable, as if I was making a big deal out of the mansion. The entrance hall was just as grand as the exterior, mahogany walls, marble floors, and an intricate, undoubtedly custom chandelier. Devon was slowly going through a pile of mail and packages nearby. So, you make movies, right? Yeah, mostly just with my old friends. What about you though? Reckon you always wanted to be a chef? Beat some suit and tie bullshit the rents keep pushing for. They stopped pestering me about it though. My sis likes that kind of life. Devon never looked up from his mail, still sorting through the large stack, seemingly looking for something specific. Why cooking though? I mean, to say, I love cooking as much as I do making films, but couldn't see myself as a chef. Why movies? Finally, he took a break from searching, looking over at me. How do you mean? The way he deflected from my question caught me a little off guard, making me worried that I was probing a bit too much. Well, you want to make films for a living, right? Yeah, of course. Not exactly something with a high success rate. You either have it or you don't. If you don't, you're probably stuck making some pornos at best, local commercials at worst, if you can even stay in the industry. The mention of pornos left butterflies in my stomach, staring at the floor to avoid Devon's gaze, trying my best not to think about the possibility of becoming some smut peddler. Sometimes there isn't an answer. All you know deep down inside of you that what you're doing feels right. And you'll do whatever it takes to make the feeling a part of your whole life. Never really thought about it like that. As I paused to think of his words, he went back to the mail. Devon suddenly let out an excited yip as he reached a package at the bottom of the stack. Oh man, it's finally here. The Doberman aggressively ripped open the box, pulling out a thick book covered in foreign lettering and artwork. A large smile on his face at the sight of it, though when he finally remembered that I was in the room, he quickly tucked the book behind his back, hiding it about as well as his expressions of joy. Why are you staring at me? It's nice seeing you smile. It looks good on you. Devon's eyes went wild for a moment before looking away, grabbing hold of the padlock on his necklace, tracing his fingers over it. What got you all excited? It's just a manga I've been waiting on. What's a manga? The canine's face lit up. He looked ready to launch into a hours-long conversation, at least until Aldric walked in, glancing at the pair of us, magazine clutched in the Doberman's paws. Dev, you got work to get to. Tell Cody another time, all right? Devon's perky posture and star-filled puppy dog eyes vanished in an instant. He looked like he might have collapsed on the floor from immense disappointment over not getting to share his passion. Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Aldric. I'm just gonna take my bike to the lodge pole. Go have fun. His piercing, laden ear flicked, seemingly still a little annoyed that he couldn't talk about his new manga, perhaps even still a little bothered by the fact that I already knew his family was wealthy. Ready to go, Cody? Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to seeing the park. As the three of us headed back out into the large driveway, Devon walked an older-looking motorcycle out from the garage, carefully fitting his ears through his helmet. Oh, Dev, when you see Misty tonight, ask her if she wants to go camping in September. Yeah, I will. It'll be nice to get out one more, and before fall really sinks its teeth in. See you later, Dev. It was nice meeting you. The drive back into town seemed shorter than the first. I was rather excited about seeing the national park. Though the town was strikingly beautiful on its own, I wanted to see what the area around it looked like, mostly unspoiled by the workings of man. Smiling, Aldric soon turned off onto one of the side roads that seemed to head straight towards one of the mountains. Good afternoon, folks. I'm Park Ranger Aldric, and I'll be your guide today. What are you doing? Please hold all questions until we reach our first landmark, and remember to do your part and leave no trace. The truck meandered further down the road, and soon enough we passed through the entrance sign for Split Peak National Park, slowing to stop alongside an attendant's booth. A lanky female sable ferret stepped out, smiling at the sight of the shepherd before she gave a nod of her hat in my direction. Afternoon, Ranger Tracy. How's your attendance today? Numbers are picking up a bit, getting in some early leavers. 2 of the campgrounds are full up. Who's your friend? Goodness, how rude of me not to introduce my tour group. The shepherd chuckled, looking over to me with a toothy grin. His act filled me with warmth and rather felt like he fit right into one of my movies if given the chance. This is Cody, novice backpacker in the making. Howdy, miss. I hope you don't mind a simple southern otter taking a gander at the local flora. As I spoke, I went hard into my southern accent, hamming it up to the level of stereotype one might find in movies that didn't have a single southerner actually working on it. Tracy rolled her eyes as I played along with Aldric, the shepherd's tail thumping gently now. Right. Nice to meet you. Well, go on through. Have a good time, you two. We pressed further into the park, past lots crammed with cars, a 2-story log building for tourist info, with what was likely a small museum section inside, soon turning onto a main loop of road that would take us deeper in. Look at the size of the trees here. They're incredible. I'd moved away from Aldrich just so that I could look out the side window with greater ease as he kept driving. Welcome to Split Peak National Park. Established in 1890, it is the 3rd oldest national park in the country, revered for its nearly 2 million acres of forest, prairies, lakes, mountain ranges, and valleys. Over 100 mixed-use trails, numerous hot springs, 2 hikeable cave systems, 3 for spelunking, and plenty more. It's really that big? You could get so many Nolans here. You could spend a decade here and still not see even half the park. He'd finally broken out of his official ranger voice, chuckling a bit as he cut on the radio to some country music, then glancing at me. I'm not really sure which place I should take you to for your first visit, so I'll let you decide. Silver Falls or Bannack Basin Ghost Town? Ghost Town. Bannack Basin it is. The drive to our destination was fairly long, and I was starting to get a scale of just how overwhelmingly massive the entire national park was. We pulled into a paved parking area, marked off for park staff. Won't we get in trouble? Nah, I'm practically hired already. They just can't actually employ me until I've got a forestry degree. We hopped out of the truck, Aldrich stretching his arms to the sky with a happy sigh. The tree line was thin here, the main road behind us busy with visitors driving by. Come on, it's not far. Think you'll love it. He led me along a well-treaded path with benches and occasional trash cans scattered by. I could often hear a soft rustling of wind blowing through the trees and bushes, bringing along the fresh scents of nature. You really seem at home here. Guess it's like a second home to me, place to get away from the town. What's wrong with the town? Nothing really wrong with it, but it's like I'm always working. Every local knows me since I worked at my folks' store. Didn't help when they started using my high school wins to promote sales. He sighed a little, ears lowering for a moment, glancing away. So a lot of the locals, even my folks, don't really get why I want to be a ranger. They all want me to go pro. So Devon and I are not the only ones with parents that want to control our fates? The shepherd chuckled softly, his ears perked up as we continued the trek. I get to be my true self in the forest, talk with tourists as park ranger Aldric, rather than score big savings with Aldric's quarterback picks. Wait, that's really a marketing line they use? Just one of the many over the past couple of years. From the sunken look in his eyes, I could see just how much it truly bothered him having so many see him as nothing more than a state champ. Well, I think you're going to make for a great park ranger. Thanks, Cody. Come on, we're almost there. As we round a bend in the trail, we left the rest of the trees behind us, finding ourselves in a massive open field, trotting steadily downwards towards what looks like a ghost town. A genuine slice of the Wild West left behind by the March of Progress. Welcome, Junior Ranger, to Bannack Basin, one of the several ghost towns in the park, and unfortunately known for being the least successful during the gold rush. There weren't many structures left standing, mostly stone foundations and collapsed chimneys. The center of the town was the most defined part, with edifications on every corner appearing almost intact, surrounded by scaffolding. What's with all the scaffolding? Historic preservation. The area kinda went to hell during World War II. Park really wasn't getting the money it needed to maintain things. It used to look a lot worse, trust me. Half the buildings in the square there had collapsed, but everyone's doing what they can to respectfully restore them to an almost original state. What do you mean, respectfully? Hand tools, old techniques. Done safely, of course, but in the spirit of true pioneer construction. I couldn't help but admire the effort. Much as I liked seeing places in a dilapidated state, there was something admirable about trying to restore something with the same techniques used to create it. Man, just look at this place. It'd make for a great set piece. Oh, yeah? Without a word, I started running away from Aldric, excitedly charging towards the town center. Come on, slowpoke. The shepherd was quick on his feet, catching up to me with relative ease, running alongside, laughing with glee. Now I was the one giggling, but with excitement as I found myself in a town square surrounded by the ancient structures. A good spaghetti western was admittedly one of my favorite genres. Just let me think for a moment. I'll help you picture it. Wandering around the town square, I would occasionally press a paw against the wood slates of one of the buildings, the old glass of another, leaning inside what looked like an old saloon, taking a deep whiff of its musty scent. All right, got it. Walking over to Aldrich, I grabbed his paw. He gripped back rather firmly, but it wasn't painful, just comforting. Lean up against this banister here, trust me. All right, reckon that I could do that for you rather quick, partner? The shepherd tried his best to talk like a cowboy, and though he wasn't terrible at it, it still caused me to chuckle. Now, close your eyes until I say so. Once he did as I asked, it was my time to shine, excited to work out the penultimate scene of a potential movie with him around. It's hot out today. There is a distinct scent of sweat from hard labor. Not far from here, you can hear the sound of a blacksmith. I picked up a rock and rapped it a few times against one of the scaffoldings. The saloon is starting to get busy. Full of heavy drinking, dirty card games, and a fight ready to break out at the drop of a hat. The shepherd's ears twitched, as though he was imagining the noises of a crowded saloon, his nostrils flaring as he took in the fictitious scent. But it's just any other day in Bannack for Sheriff Aldric, just the heartbeat of the wild town you swore an oath to keep safe. Silently, I walked out of sight, picking up a sturdy board. I chucked it and let it hit the ground with a heavy thud. Aldric's eyes shoot open, watching me as I stood in an aggressive stance, one paw hovering by my side, ready to grab an imaginary revolver. I thought that I told you to leave town, Sheriff. Bannack belongs to the Tannerson clan. I glanced left, then right, at two imaginary brothers in crime, backing me up. You're no stranger to the Tannerson clan, just two brothers at first, who'd been growing into a formidable posse as they kept on taking control of mine after mine. Gregor Tannerson, the eldest brother, stands before you, raring for a fight, backed up by his younger brother and Constance Withers, fastest rifleman in the West. So, what do you say, Sheriff? Going to get walking, or should the coffin maker take your measurements? The shepherd stepped away from the banister, heading towards me with heavy steps, ready to grab a fake revolver from his left side. You Tannersons aren't welcome here. The shepherd seemed nervous about his word choices. I expected as much, considering we were slipping into some improv. This isn't your town anymore, Sheriff. Idle threats won't save the day. I flexed my fingers, letting them twitch, showing how angsty I was to draw my gun and shoot the sheriff dead. Take it all in. The saloon's grown quiet. Patrons crowd the windows to watch the standoff unfold. Even the smith has stopped and watches from down the way. It's just your conviction and loyalty to your oath that stands between a town of order and a town of chaos. Can you really shoot faster than the Tannerson clan. Don't be afraid. Look around you, Sheriff. Surely something can give you the advantage. What will you do? Aldric's eyes darted around, taking in the environment surrounding me, a grin creeping across his muzzle. Behind you, looks like a rack that used to carry barrels. His observation made me smile. He'd picked up on my intent when I worked out the scene. Aldric suddenly dropped to the ground, gun drawn, shooting the rack with precision, barrels careening off, steamrolling my posse. Another quick shot and he'd struck me through the knees. I dropped to the ground with a fake howl of pain, moaning in agony as I writhed in the dirt, looking down at a knee that my makeup work would make a grotesque mess of. Aldric then stood up, walked over with heavy steps, pointing his gun at my head. You'll see the noose for this, Gregor. Curse you, Sheriff. Curse you and your whole line. I hucked a wad of spit at the ground. With the deed done, the patrons of the saloon burst out onto the street, cheering your name, raising glasses in your honor for taking out the leaders of the infamous clan. Bannack Basin is safe. For now. Aldric laughed and offered a paw, helping me up from the ground. Chuckling, I kept hold of it and made him take a bow with me for the imaginary crowd. You really came up with all of that on the spot? It's a little heavy on the cliches, but yeah. Didn't think that I could pull off a western out of my ass. That was fun, though. Maybe seeing a ghost town like this was all the inspiration I needed. Man, if that's what you came up with so quickly, I just know that your movies will be amazing. I helped Aldric brush dirt off of his clothes, and he did mine as well, though my whole body tensed up as his paws grazed across the base of my rudder. I gulped nervously, but it was over in an instant. Are the other ghost towns still this intact? Not really, no. You'll find old cabins scattered about. Bannack is the only one that's still mostly there. All the other towns just kinda scavenged each other as they fell by the wayside, one after the other. Reckon it were the Wild West after all. Fortunes and loyalties as fleeting as leaves in the wind. And there's actually an old ghost cabin at the camping spot that we frequent, real close to a natural hot spring. Is it haunted? Nah, though Devon sure does try his best to convince me otherwise. He chuckled, giving me a soft pat on the back, that tail of his slowly beating back and forth. I got something else that I'd like to show you before we head back to town, if you're interested. Sure, just let me sketch a couple of things real quick. As I set about producing my sketches of the town square, while drawing marks for what would be good backdrops, Aldric leaned up against one of the buildings, watching me warmly. Thank you, Cody. Stopping in my tracks halfway down the length of the saloon boardwalk, I glanced over at the shepherd, rounded ears raised. For what? Coming to Aspen Hollow. Kinda majestic, if I think about it. I might not have been thinking of you at the time when looking at skulls, but there was a warmth to the name Aspen Hollow. You think that's the only reason that you chose to come here? Honestly? Obviously. I couldn't really place my finger on it. When the guidance counselor started helping me find colleges I might be able to afford without loans, Aspen Hollow jumped out at me. It felt like there was an ember in my soul rekindled, a warmth that I'd known before. It felt safe, inviting even. Tobin and Liam kept trying to get me to pick somewhere closer. I just couldn't, and get this town out of my head though, like it was calling me. I suppose no force, be it heaven or hell, would have talked me out of the notion, even if it did sting knowing how far away I'd be. Well, I'm glad that you did move here. I think we're going to have an awesome year. It didn't take me long to finish working out a rough idea for my next film, as I drew out the last few marks over potential good backdrops. Getting the camera equipment out here would be easy, though finding enough college students willing to act in a movie, filling out the space with life, now there was a challenge. Eventually we made a back for the truck, night already starting to fall as we set about the main road, heading deeper into the park. Before I knew it, night had set in, and I could see more people driving past us towards the entrance. than there was heading deeper like us. Actually, I'm gonna look at this thing here real quick. Western hero is... Okay, pause to read this yourself. Yeah, this is more of the journal. Oh, crap, how do I exit? There we go. Keep back from the window. It's gonna be bumpy. Where are we going now? Patience, little otter. You just have to let things be a surprise sometimes. And that's where I'm gonna leave it for today. So, we finally got to meet some new characters. We also got to see who the that person, the elk, was, and as it turns out, they're an art teacher, who I'm pretty sure that the otter is gonna be stuck with, because I mean, you don't just make a sprite for someone and then not use it. So we also met Devon, who Aldric previously mentioned, and as it turns out, they're, a Doberman who likes to cook, who has aspirations of opening up a restaurant in the future, after they graduate, I guess, and, travel the world, which, pretty cool. But it also turns out that he is rich, which is something that he does not like people knowing. And I mean, aside from the fact that they said, like, he either gets bullied for it or people just want to be his friend to get free stuff. And if you're rich, you normally don't want people to know. Like, even if when you win the lottery, you don't normally want people to know, like, even relatives, because it's like they're just gonna come out and demand money from you. That's not gonna be like, oh, we've been your family or friends or whatever for a long time. We deserve something for it, Anyways, so afterwards, Aldric decided to take the otter to I guess it's a national park, right? Yeah, it's a national park. Just to look around, as you usually do. And you did have the choice between going to Bannack Basin and the waterfalls. And as far as I can tell, the only thing that kind of changes is, I guess Cody's choice, like later on, where Cody will say like, oh, well, it changes something that you'll see later, but the other option, I guess, is more horror oriented in what he decides to do. But yeah, well, if you want to see what that is, then you go do that yourself. But yeah, so they spent some nice quality time, I guess. It was fun to see how the otter's brain works when he's trying to like brainstorm a movie, even like on the spot. And nice to see Aldric sort of play with it too, or play along, I guess I should say. But yeah. What more is there to say? I guess that I'm curious what Aldric had written to Cody that his father might have seen, causing him to rip up the letters. Maybe Aldric had come out to Cody through letters, and his father saw the letters, and then he's like, yeah, my son's not gonna, be interacting with this butt pirate. And like maybe that's something that happened. Because you don't know, like all these years, something might have been written like that. Also, why did the otter decide to stop writing? Like, did he feel bad because all of a sudden he stopped receiving letters from Aldric? Or was he just like, okay, fine, whatever, Anywho, channel members. um, so yeah, channel members. Here you guys are on the bottom. Ah, the best people. The best people on this channel. I mean, yeah, like, you guys are not exactly bankrolling these videos, but like, your support is helping create these videos. Through your support, I am able to better edit and work on these videos. So yeah, that's like a really big like, yay, thank you. And I mean, obviously all the other people, all the other normal people, your support also, is appreciated. But like, also all the people that are just watching the video that are not subscribed, why don't you subscribe and give the video thumbs up? It helps. But yeah, like everyone, from the channel members to the just normal subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't do this without you. I mean, I could, but like... Anyway, so thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Northern Lights yourself or stay up to date with it, you can do so by going down into the links in the description, which should be the Twitter link and maybe even the Blue Sky link if I remember to do that. And those should have direct links to the itch.io page where you can download the game to play it, or you can just go to itch.io yourself and just download it from there. I will also be posting down a link for the Patreon page in case you want to support the project and get probably early access to builds of Northern Lights and any other stuff that they might have. And it depends on the tiers. And all my other extra pertinent links are linked down in the description if you feel so inclined to donate through other avenues, in case you don't want to be a channel member but you do want to donate for one time or whatever. I don't know, it's up to you. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.